Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I had somebody ask me a question just recently here that I thought was important enough for me to do a video and discuss with you guys. And what I was asked is what is the biggest variable when it comes to some type of SHTF situation. And I think the person that asked this question was looking for some type of, well, the power's always going to go out, or there's always going to be a run on food, or cash is going to become worthless. Kind of some of those main prepper talking points that people often discuss. And I gave the answer that they really didn't expect, but it was people. People are your greatest variable when SHTF happens. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. How people are going to react, the situation that they're in, how they handle either acceptance or denial of that situation. There is a lot of variables that depend on people. And another thing is I had somebody else that was in the preparedness game mention this to me years ago, that when SHTF happens, there's still going to be people around. It's not just going to be you and whatever the situation is. You're going to have to interact with these other people who you might be competing with resources with. You might be friends. You might be enemies. You might switch alliances because, alliances change after SHTF. If people need this from this person and you weren't necessarily friends with them before, but they have something you want, so you try to get in good with them so you can either barter or trade for whatever that is. So the people are always the variable. And this is something in particular the last 5 years since the pandemic that I have noticed is the people in my area. I know I've said this in other videos before. The people in my area have changed. And it's not that they're good or bad, but new people have moved into the area. Some people moved out of the area. A lot of them has passed away. In the last 10 years, pretty much everybody that I considered an old timer growing up has passed away. So you can be in a bad situation, but if you have good, solid people around you, that can mitigate that situation, and vice versa. You could be in maybe just a kind of a mild situation, but you have a bad element either around you. That's going to make that situation worse. And everybody is going to react to whatever the situation they're in. They're going to react to that from their own personal biases and experiences. And that is another thing, because you can't necessarily predict on how individual people are going to react in a situation. And that's why I'm a big proponent of you take each person on an individual basis. You can't just look at someone and say, hey, this guy's going to be a solid, survivor, because he's ripped and jacked, and, he's got all the cool outdoor stickers on the back end of his vehicle. He talks the talk, but you can't really tell until they're in that situation. You often hear that with people who are in combat. You don't know who's going to be able to pull the trigger on another human being until they actually get in that situation. And I look at that a lot when it comes to how people are going to react to bad events. And after a while, if you've been in enough bad events yourself, you can start picking out who is going to be able to handle those situations and who is probably going to, curl up in a fetal position and not be much use to anybody, including themselves. And again, you're not going to know that until that actually happens. So people, again, are always going to be your greatest variable in SHTF. Now, I know a lot of people older like myself get down on the younger generations. You hear a lot of people complaining about millennials and stuff, and I can understand why people would say those things from some of them that I've met. But then again, on the flip side, there's a small percentage, maybe 15 to 20% of younger people who would fall into that group that I know are actually to be solid individuals and that can actually handle themselves if bad things happen. And, they got a solid work ethic. They're good to go. And again, that goes back to, you don't want to kind of lump everybody together. If you have people in your group, in your community, whatever, you want to take each person on an individual basis. And then if you want to take it a step further, you kind of find out what their strengths and weaknesses are, so that if something does happen, people can kind of focus on their strengths, mitigate their weaknesses, and you kind of build a more solid community and these type of things when something does happen. Like me and my neighbors and stuff here that are around, I consider my neighbors my group, because we all know each other, we all help each other, we all have different skill sets, and there's certain people that are better at this, certain people that are better at that, and you're not going to know that until you kind of interface with those people and you do it on a one-to-one basis. And I think people too have a tendency when bad things happen to want to consolidate. And that is another thing that I try to talk a lot about with different people that I know and stuff, that if something bad happens, we'll consolidate our efforts. It's not your typical prepping group that people talk about, where you go to meetings once a month or whatever. We have sort of a understanding that if something happens, things get tough, we're going to work together, pool our resources so we can basically benefit the community as a whole. But anyway, people are the biggest variable, in my opinion, when it comes to SHTF situations. And if you know ahead of time, you can mitigate some of those problems that come around when you mash people together in a bad situation. But anyway, this is Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a little information, a little entertainment out of this video here. Just kind of expanding on a conversation that I had here recently. You guys have a good one.